I may have just found the stinkiest of doo-doos in all of the interviews I've ever been on in history. I have in my possession an actual live interview that I was on, as well as a few other candidates. This was what they call a group interview, where the business owner holds an interview with 3 or 4 other candidates to save time. And I'm telling you, one of the interviewees was the worst, like just god awful person I have ever seen. Just as a reminder, anyone new to my channel, we are on day 25 of my 30-day setter journey, where I am sourcing, interviewing, and getting offered a high ticket closer role. And in today's video, we're gonna be covering how not to do a remote setter or closer interview. Literally just do the opposite of everything this guy does here. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video.
Hey, thank you for taking your time to be on this. Let me start with the first question then. Why do you want to be a remote closer?
Why do I want to be a remote closer? I mean, you kind of got to go way back to when I was a kid. Like I was always into sales, and I've sold stuff my entire life there, and absolutely crushing it in the real estate market with homes and stuff like that.
Hey, real quick, if you want to be a part of a community for people with no experience in this industry and get coached on how we can take you from 0 to 5 and even $10,000 a month as a remote setter and closer, then click down below to apply to our community Clash of Closers, and I will see you in there.
Um, I'm a hard worker. Like I've been a hard worker, whether that's in the gym or just in life. It's like yeah, and I think I'd love to be able to hop on an offer and just like completely knock it out of the park and really show everyone what I came here to do.
Why do you want to be a remote closer was the question, and this guy does proceed to answer the question for like 5 seconds, and then he just completely shifts gears and talks about like what he's sold, why he's different, the kind of experience he has, just a bunch of stuff the company owner didn't ask and doesn't really want to hear. So in the business owner's mind, the translation is, oh,
This guy doesn't know how to take directions well. Okay, I'm going to tell him to do something, and he's going to do just a bunch of other stuff that I didn't ask for.
so if you're asked a question in an interview, the key word here that you want to adopt is succinct. How little words can you get your point across while standing out and being unique as well, okay? You don't want to repeat what other people are saying, by having a short answer, but keep your answers succinct and answer very directly what the company owner just asked you. I think the only reason this guy tried to like spout his entire life story is simply because like he didn't know if these other questions were going to be asked in the interview, so he wanted to just make sure that everything about him was on the table and on the plate right there. You can tell off the bat, like he doesn't like to listen, he likes to talk, which is the opposite of what you want in a closer role.
What about their brother? Sell their brother a car. You know, you gotta think outside the box, and that's kind of where I live. Um, outside the box.
Another thing I find just hilarious with this guy is the setup, okay? This guy decided the best place to take the interview was outside on the street, holding his phone, like not even placing it down or anything. Like he's actually just holding it vertically. Like, don't get me wrong, one of the best closers I know, he takes his sales calls from his phone. But the way he does it is he has a little attachment on the back where he can put it up against a wall. It's horizontal, he's sitting down, he has nice lighting, and he's wearing professional clothing. This guy is just doing none of that, and it just comes across like unprofessional, like he can't be bothered with actually showing up the right way. And so again, as the business owner, he's thinking like, well,
If this is the best he can do for an interview, how is this guy going to show up and represent my company on a sales call? He's probably going to do the same thing. Next.
How many hours on a call experience do you have closing high ticket offers?
At least 4,000 hours, 4,500, if you count all the door to door stuff that I've done in my time. So, I've seen it all. I feel like I've seen every kind of person that you could talk to. I was talking to this one lady this one time when I was selling cars, and she was just like would not was not interested in buying a car. Um, Lo and behold, 2 weeks later, I sell 2 of her family members' cars. It's like I find an angle, and I think even if the angle's not in that person,
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Man City had 4,500 hours of on-call experience, which is like so unlikely. That's a ton of hours considering, I mean, the high-ticket closing space from Zoom is relatively new. It hasn't been around for a decade. It's only been around since 2017, 2018 in the way that it's done right now. So if that was true, he would have had to take in basically 5 calls a day, every day, 5 days a week. Assuming each call was at least an hour long, and he would have had to do that back to back for 4 years straight with no vacations. We also have to assume there's no drop in lead flow, and all 5 calls every single day show up. So it's just very unlikely, and you know, the business owner's probably thinking this
Guy's just exaggerating his numbers.
I said I had around 550 hours just from high ticket sales calls over Zoom, because if I'm closing out on, say, on the low end 20% of that, I've probably closed about 110 deals over Zoom, and so that sounds like right-ish to me, and like reasonable, totally reasonable. So that's what I put as my number. Now, just a side note, the majority of those hours on calls that I were taking were on my own offer, so I was getting more commission out of that, more money out of that. I don't think I would have been able to just like live the kind of lifestyle I wanted to live if those were just like, if I was just taking 10% of that. So I mentioned that as well on the call.
but like I've been working on offers like this relationship based things for like a long time. And I was on one previously a little while ago where I eventually transitioned into more of a coaching role on that offer, coaching and kind of helping manage the teams there.
Okay, there's a key distinction here that I gotta mention here, is that this guy said that he worked as a coach on another offer, not as a closer, but as a coach, which means if you're going to coach people on another offer, you have to really know their philosophy, their systems, their way of being. And so if you are transitioning from that into this, you might be watching this video thinking, oh, that's great, like he's got experience selling something or coaching something similar. But what's actually going on in the mind of the business owner is,
He just said that this guy's gonna need extra training time. Oh crap, this guy's got years of experience learning the wrong things, and I'm gonna have to unteach him all this like false stuff or bad stuff that the competitors are doing that's not what I'm doing. My stuff is very different, my philosophy is different.
so yeah, just in general, the business owner doesn't like that because you're gonna have to unlearn a bunch of old habits. Now, if you do have some kind of like experience that's similar in another field, it's just really, really important that on the interview you mention, if you are going to say that, which I think you should, but it's so important you have to tack on. Although I did sell in this industry previously, I'm extremely open to coaching and new ways of learning so that I can adopt my process to fit your guys' model of teaching and educating your clients.
Anyone else
Yeah.
have a question?
Hello? I think it's working. Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, so before we jump off here, I just wanted to see, I know we're talking about a closing position. I eventually transitioned into more of a coaching role on that offer, coaching. How long do you think it would take to get into an opportunity like that with this business?
With that position, you will be looking at a lower salary, and we're not currently looking for a coaching position here at our company.
Okay, so then this is at the end of the call. The guy basically asks if there's opportunity to get hired as a coach down the line. And this is a terrible thing to say because first off, like I get why he's saying it. He's trying to say like, oh, I want to be in this company long term and I want to grow into a new position. But the thing with a coach is that, you know, you don't grow from a closer into a coach. You go from a closer into like a sales manager. So for him to say, I want to go from a closer to a coach is kind of saying like, I don't really want this position. I want this position over here. So the business owner is just thinking like,
Oh, like this guy's kind of not dedicated to this role. Like, does he even really want to be doing this?
and it just kind of gives off an impression like he's not interested in the role. So if you get asked a question on an interview or something like, where do you see yourself in a couple years, choose a position that's, you know, above the role that you're currently doing and how you can grow inside that role. So yeah, I just think that was a terrible freaking answer. So overall, not great. What ended up happening to this candidate is he did not move forward on the next stage. Funny enough, I got contacted from the business owner after this interview, and he wanted to start me on a trial, which is going to be my next video. I'm going to talk a bit more about that. But inside that onboarding call, he also had one other candidate that he was going to trial for the week, but I noticed this guy wasn't on that call, and I asked about him, and he said, oh yeah, he wasn't a good fit. He was putting it politely, but it just goes to show, yeah, all these mistakes that I'm pointing out here had led to him not even getting a trial. They didn't even want to test him out. They're like, I'm not touching this dude. He's bad news. Real quick, there is my Instagram. Shoot me over a DM if you're in this process, in this step where you're actually interviewing and you want to make sure you nail that interview. Feel free to send me over a message and I'll hit you back with a message back on what I personally think I would do to handle your situation. Thank you so much, and I will catch you later.